The shadow came from below, wide as a door, all teeth and hunger. I'm a pufferfish, and I am the slowest thing on this reef. I cannot outswim it. I never could. My fins are little paddles. I hover, I drift, I do not flee. So when the grouper turned and opened a mouth big enough to swallow me whole, I did the only thing my body knows how to do. I stopped running. I started swallowing. Water. Gulp after gulp, faster than fear. My belly stretching, my skin pulling tight, the small spikes along my back beginning to rise. The grouper lunged. I felt the rush of water push ahead of its jaws. And in that last half second, with the dark closing over me, I was not afraid of dying. I was almost curious. Because I knew something the grouper did not. But to understand what happened next, and why nothing that bites me ever bites anything again, you have to go back to the beginning. Back to a single grain of sand that somehow called itself me. I began as one egg among thousands, scattered across the seafloor, no bigger than a comma. When I hatched, I was a speck with eyes, translucent, helpless, tumbling in the current like dust. I had no spikes then, no poison, nothing that could hurt anyone. I was, in every way, a snack. Most of my brothers and sisters were eaten in the first days. I survived by being small and being lucky, hiding in the spaces between sand grains where bigger mouths could not follow. And here is the strange truth of what I am. I was not born deadly. I became it, slowly, one meal at a time. The poison that would one day fill me did not come from inside. It seeped in from the tiny lives I ate, gathering in my skin and my organs, building drop by drop into something no antidote in the world can undo. As a hatchling, I understood none of that. I only knew hunger and the light above and the constant electric awareness of being prey. My mouth was already forming its strange shape, 4 teeth fused into a hard little beak that would never stop growing. I didn't know it yet, but that beak and that borrowed poison were the whole story of how I would live. First, though, I had to find a home, and I chose the most dangerous one of all. Home, for me, is the open sand, a pale desert at the bottom of the sea that most fish avoid. There is nowhere to hide out here, which is exactly why I chose it. Up in the reef, everything is teeth. Down here, it is just me and the slow shimmer of light bending through the water. I see that light differently than you would. My eyes move on their own, each one swiveling to watch a different patch of the world, so I can keep one on the surface and one on the sand at the same time. I taste the water constantly, reading the chemical trails of who passed by and how long ago. A crab buried somewhere to my left, a predator's musk drifting from the reef edge. I don't swim so much as I hover, sculling with tiny fins, hanging in place like a held breath. It makes me clumsy. It makes me slow. A current can shove me sideways, and I will simply go with it. But it also gives me a precision most fish cannot manage. I can stop over a single grain of sand and stay there, perfectly still. And on this empty stretch of seafloor, that stillness is everything. Because soon, I would use it to build the strangest thing in the entire ocean. something no one who saw it could believe a fish had made. When the urge finally came, I went to work. For a week, I did almost nothing but build. I dove at the sand nose first and beat my fins, carving a valley, then turned and carved another and another, until a circle began to spread beneath me. 2 full meters across, ringed with ridges and grooves like the spokes of a great wheel. You build cities. I built this. A single pufferfish, no longer than your hand, shaping a structure 40 times my own size, grain by grain with nothing but my body. I crawled along every ridge, smoothing the peaks, deepening the channels. I gathered broken shells and fragments of coral and pressed them into the walls, decorating the rim like I was furnishing a room. I didn't know why. No one taught me. The pattern simply lived in me, waiting. But here is the part even I did not understand until much later. The shape was not only beautiful. Those ridges and valleys catch the current and bend it, slowing the water as it crosses the center, calming it, almost to stillness, in the exact spot that would matter most. I was an architect who could not read his own blueprint. I only felt, deep in some ancient instinct, that the circle had to be perfect. And then, one morning, with the work finally done and my whole body aching, I felt the shadow return. The grouper. The same wide mouth, the same hunger, drawn back by my movement across the open sand. And now you know I cannot run. So let me show you what I did instead. I swallowed the sea, gulp after gulp of water flooding into a stomach built to stretch like a balloon. No ribs to stop it, skin with no scales to tear, until I swelled to 3 times my size, a round, bristling globe far too big for any throat. Every spike on my body stood straight out. I became a problem with no good way to bite it. But size is only the trick. The real answer is the poison. The grouper lunged anyway, and its jaws closed over me. For one heartbeat, I felt the pressure, the teeth. And then the grouper went still. Its body locked, its gills stopped. The toxin in my skin is roughly 1,200 times deadlier than cyanide, and there is no antidote. Not for the grouper, not for anything. It jams the tiny gates inside the nerves until the body simply forgets how to move. I am immune only because my own nerves are built wrong in exactly the right way. The grouper drifted down to the sand beside my circle, and it did not rise again. I deflated, slowly, and I went back to waiting. Because the circle was never really about me. It was about what comes after.
She arrived a few days later, a female, drawn across the empty sand by the one thing she had been searching for, a perfect circle. She swam its ridges slowly, inspecting the valleys, testing the calm water at the very heart of it, judging the work of my whole exhausting week in a few unhurried minutes. I hovered at the edge and waited to be chosen. And she chose. She laid her eggs in the fine sediment at the exact center, in the one patch of stillness my ridges had carved out of the current, the safest cradle on the open seafloor. Then she was gone, back into the blue, and the eggs were mine to guard. That calm center I had built without understanding it, it was for them all along. It keeps the eggs from being swept away, holds the gentlest sand cupped around them while the rest of the sea churns past. I will hover here until they hatch, thousands of specks with eyes, helpless and translucent, carrying no poison yet, just as I once did. Most of them will not survive their first week, but some will. Some will drift out to their own patch of empty sand, and one day feel the same pattern stir inside them and build a circle they were never taught to build. That is the only forever I get, and it is enough.
You came here thinking a pufferfish was a joke. The silly balloon, the cartoon spikes, the face on 100 memes. But you just lived a week of building, a heartbeat of killing, and a quiet morning of becoming a father on the loneliest sand in the sea. There are 1,000 more lives like mine down here, each one stranger than the last. So don't leave yet. Subscribe and live the next one with me.